Evan usually left the house at about 7:30 to head off to his work for the day. I go by his bedroom and I see that he's still laying in bed. And on that fateful day, I said, "Good morning, sleepyhead." Under the blankets, he waved his left foot, "Good morning." And that always has really been significant to me, that it was really, as opposed to a good morning, it was a goodbye. A mother's heart is to have provided a good vehicle. To be missing something as significant as part of a leg is profound.
You can go up if you want to. Hey, what's that?
Evan tripped over his own feet, ran into things, was like a bull in a china shop.
He always had a lot of energy for going fast and jumping.
Getting that to focus into specific tasks was really challenging. And then as he got older, what I realized was as soon as I could focus that through physical activity and sport, and it got a channel and an outlet, this incredibly high ability to perform tasks came out.
I was grown up homeschooled. My parents put together my curriculum.
Before we moved to Hawaii, when we lived in Maine, was that with homeschooling, you find out what their interests are and support them in it.
We always joke around that his homeschooling was at the skate park. I, of course, had this crush on him that I didn't dare tell his sister about because he didn't want to ruin a friendship.
My mom gave me my first skateboard when I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I was hooked.
And he wanted to become a professional skateboarder.
There's photos of me building ramps around my front yard, and I would just go off, like ride ramps all day.
I knew that for him, the next thing was really being able to compete with others.
I got my first podium, and that was so rewarding, and it felt so good that I kept doing it and doing, and I kept progressing and progressing.
He wanted to go on tour and go skateboarding across the country.
By the time he was a young teenager, we were traveling with him and entering competition. That was really when I think Evan came into his own.
I felt really strong that I was on the right path. I'm gonna drive until the wheels fall off. I would normally catch a ride with my boss to work. Of course, that day I missed that ride. The only way was to get on my motorcycle. I was going into a valley. In a split instant, I realized there was a speeding white SUV that veered right into my lane, and it hit me like that. Very shortly after that, I started to notice that my back and everything was super warm, and my left leg was laid up over my chest, and my left foot was on my right shoulder. As soon as I saw that, I laid my head back down and I said to myself, I'm not okay. The pain that started to settle in was nothing like I ever experienced before. It was so excruciating. And the first thought that I had was, I'm not gonna skateboard ever again.
He's already bled out completely for 45 minutes.
Luckily enough, somebody was coming back from the laundromat. She grabbed her clean laundry and packed my wounds with it. She saved my life by keeping me from bleeding to death on the side of the road.
I remember standing next to this window and just kind of crumbling down. And in that moment, it went from Evan being my best friend's older brother to Evan being one of the most important people in my life.
I just began to involuntarily make a blood-curdling scream. Whew, scared the whole neighborhood. They asked for my signature on his leg as his mother because he was still 17. Excuse me. Whew. You always get to that point and it's still there. So, yeah, I worried greatly how that would impact everything he loved.
Dad! I hope you caught that!
I did.
Evan, for a while, was quite alone.
I know that when I went over to their house, there was always the same few people. A lot of his friends dissipated.
So many people, that was really more than they could fully take on at first.
There was a summer when I was 16 that I came over to visit them. We went down to this river. We were swimming and a boy drowned. I'm in complete shock. I just witnessed someone passing away, and the first person that I saw was Evan. And Evan just gave me the biggest hug, and when he did that, it made me feel so okay, and I remember just crying and breaking out of that shock, which let me deal with that emotion, which was huge. From then, I just knew that we had such a really deep connection.
Her consistency through that year and a half of that tremendous phase of recovery, showing up every weekend when she wasn't at school.
In my vulnerability, she saw my strength, and that was a quality in me that she admired. I think that's what kind of sparked that first sense of love.
How do I proceed from here? Are the goals and the dreams that I had in sports still something that I can do?
On impact in my accident, 5 inches of femur actually came out of my leg. I was hit so hard. So when they were going for the surgery, they're like, wow, we don't really have anything to work with. We're gonna have to just take it where the break was. We can't do that. I'm gonna skateboard again. I need my knee to make that happen.
That specific recovery of the knee was everything to even do the simplest of things with a leg.
The way that Evan handled it was the biggest blessing because he made it so that it was okay and that any challenge in life that it brings up, we will get through.
Never once did he ever express anything like self-pity or anger at the woman who hit him. That range of emotion just wasn't the bag of tools he was going to draw from.
I guess that there could be flavors of times of why and feeling down about yourself. But the amazing thing is you don't know how strong you are until you have to be.
Bit by bit, he was starting to see what he could do. You know, they were small steps sometimes, but each time you were able to recover something or do something, it's like, oh wow, I can do that. I recall him and his friends going to the driving range on one leg with crutches, and he's hitting balls, and so he's like, oh, I can do this. I can stand on my skateboard and push myself along with my crutches. Oh, I can do this.
Wow, look how smooth he's getting.
I've never seen a prosthetic leg before. I don't even know how they work. I just know that there's people out there that are living active life. If they can do it, I can do it.
Evan's uncle Tom and he were conspiring in that very first month of what the next winter season would look like. For sure, a lot of mountain biking was going to happen that next summer and snowboarding the next winter. Anybody who knows Evan knows that if you just dangle the right carrot out in front of him, you pretty much can predict any outcome.
Getting back to my ability, getting back to my life, I'm like, I want to experience as much as I can. How have I never snowboarded before? I bet it translates so well from skateboarding. I moved off Maui, moved to Lake Tahoe, got a job at a ski resort, strapped my board on, got to the top of the mountain, pointed my nose down the fall line, and fell on my face. By the end of the day, I was linking turns, and by my second day, I was riding all over the mountain.
I remember him being like, we've snowboarded for 2 days now, and Evan's snowboarding down like black diamonds.
And he was like, whew. You know, he goes, I can do this. He could do it big.
I never started snowboarding with the intention or the goals to compete. I just wanted to experience life.
He did, with great determination, head out onto that mountain, ready to master it, and he did.
He just made his whole life, just as he did with skateboarding, revolve around snowboarding.
When I got to race border cross, I fell in love with it, the exhilaration. I've never had an adrenaline rush like that ever before.
As in anything Evan takes on, was apparent that he was going to excel at it.
I won my 8th World Cup, World Championships, X Games gold, and bronze. I have every title besides a Paralympic title. I want to be the guy to beat. That can be a lot of pressure for some people, but I feel really confident wearing that target. It's been 9 years since I was that other person. I was gonna run through life and just skateboard and everything else. It didn't matter.
I hope that people can take away that hard things happen to people. We don't have to define ourselves if something bad happened to.
They say some of the biggest limitations and barriers in anyone's lives are the ones that are self-imposed. For Evan, his story is really, I can do that. I didn't know there was a barrier there. I didn't know that you weren't supposed to be able to do that.
The first day of the accident, for some reason, what I felt compelled to do, because I had a feeling we wouldn't be coming back home for a while, I just wrote a big poster and I put it on the front door in big letters. We're going to make this a great story. And Evan has done that. He has made this beautiful story to tell and to watch. And the Olympics is just a really nice period at the end of just one of the chapters.